So faith, what is faith? What is faith? Faith is believing in something you can't see. Yes. So we have all maybe had a belief in something we couldn't see. On the science side, I believe in gravity. I've never seen gravity. It's a theory, right? But I believe it. I drop things and it falls to the ground. So faith is believing in something we cannot see. And so it really is linked to our beliefs in what we have a faith in. And so, why I want to start with the business context is, and some of you may be familiar with this, this is the Gallup's Strength Finder book 2.0. The Gallup organization created a assessment of 34 talents. They're now called strengths. We used it at Harley Davidson. I know Accenture uses it with their employees. Maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe you're in an organization that has used strengths. All kinds of meta research on what are the main 34 talents. That's actually what they're referred to in the book. Somehow, I think strengths just evolved in the kind of titling of it, that we all have the potential to have. And we actually do all have them. It's almost like, a pine cone has the potential to grow into this magnificent evergreen tree. It's the same thing with the talents in the Strength Finder. We all have these 34. However, some come more naturally to us than others. So how we work with Strength Finder, for those of us that are coaches in it, is you do an assessment online, you get your report. Your top 10 is their current thinking now, are the things that come very naturally to you. You may not even think of them as talents because you're just so used to doing them that it's just who you are, but they're actually talents, okay? The middle is an opportunity. You kind of, might want to stretch into those areas. And then the last 8 or so are areas that are not necessarily natural to you. Can you develop them? Absolutely. So again, back to the pine cone, everybody has the potential to develop them. But the whole idea is, why not flow with your natural talents? Not kind of work, like don't maybe not have a job. All right, let me give you an example. My number 34, this is going to surprise some of you, is consistency. Consistency does not come naturally to me. Can I be consistent? Yes. When I need to, especially when I'm training a dog, very helpful to be consistent. But it takes a lot of my energy. It is not natural to me at all. Guess what one of my top 10 strengths is? Positivity. Surprise! I knew you all were going to wonder what that was. It just oozes out of me. It comes naturally. It's not forced. It's just me. Whereas some people, maybe positivity is like number 33 or 34, right? So we all have things that come naturally. Why I'm talking about this is one of the 34 talents is belief. It's a talent to have belief. And I think it actually is in my top 10. So for some people, it comes very naturally to believe, right? To maybe believe in things that you haven't seen, to believe in possibilities, to believe that there might be energy or forces out there that I haven't seen, or maybe can't even comprehend the magnitude of. It's a talent, but guess what? It's all in us. We all have the talent to believe. There's also another talent in here called connection, connected. And that talent is about everything's connected. Everything is connected. So if you think about ecosystems, or we're all connected as humans on this planet. Energy connects us, etc. It's a talent being used in businesses. Okay. This is really good stuff. So this is not necessarily kind of out there. Belief and connectedness, and people who believe in who have this talent and connectedness are amazing system thinkers. Like, and so I work with software engineers in one of my companies. They could see if I change something over here, something over there is going to get really, they could see the downstream effect, upstream, downstream, connectedness, seeing a flow, seeing alignment. Again, we all have this capability. So what that means is we all have the talent of belief. We all have the ability to believe. Now, for some of us, certain things, we might want a bit more proof, whereas others might kind of be okay believing in something that they cannot really see right in front of them. But we all have this ability to believe, which means we all have the capacity for faith. So that's my first kind of premise. Now, we also, back to freedom, get to choose our beliefs. We are free to choose our beliefs. Now, having said that, we know that maybe when we are younger, we are in a more dependent scenario. We're dependent on grown-ups. We're dependent on others, and potentially they are choosing for us, okay? That is a part of this initial stage of being on this planet where we are still developing, still moving forward. The name of the book is Strength Finder 2.0 by Tom Rath. But going back to the fact that we all have the ability to have beliefs. Once we become a bit more independent, and Stephen Covey would talk about it, we start as dependent, we move to independent to become interdependent. Actually drew it that way in a book, 3 bars, dependent to independent to interdependent, okay? As we become more independent, we potentially, if we are aware, can maybe adopt new beliefs or challenge the beliefs that others, the grown-ups around you had, okay? But recognize that we kind of all are kind of surrounded by this belief, and some people call it programming or patterns, or and it's like in this family we do XYZ. Well, that's a belief, right? If you want to be in the family, you do XYZ, right? And so you do those things, or you act out and don't do those things. Either one is a choice. I was the middle child and the people pleaser. Remember from yesterday? So I went along. I went to catechism. I went to church. I did the sacraments. I chose to do certain things when I was growing up. One of my siblings did them, but with a lot more acting out about it. Neither's right or wrong. It's just how when we choose to establish our own point of view about something, our own beliefs about something. So when I mentioned yesterday that I like to escape, I like to leave, I like to, when things aren't working for me, that was my definition of boundaries. Take myself 1,000 miles away from the issue, and then I have a boundary. So I have a boundary, but I actually kind of identified with being the one who moved away, the black sheep. She works at Harley Davidson, right? I prided myself a little bit in that identity. I got out. I moved away. I'm like the rebel, a little bit in the family. And to some extent, some of that is absolutely true. It was a bit of I'm kind of rejecting and or not buying into some of the ways, the programs, the beliefs that I was raised and I was establishing. But here's the thing. There's a whole layer of beliefs in my subconscious that are still there. these programs that are running underneath the beliefs that sometimes take me back to a belief around growing up or how I grew up that kind of triggers me or takes me by surprise. So over time, I'm working on those subconscious beliefs. And I think I've gotten there through the coaches I've worked with, the mentors I've worked with. They sometimes some bubble up and completely surprise me. But the good part is now that once I become aware of those beliefs as a grown up, I can decide to shift that belief. Okay. So premise number one, we all have the ability to believe. Premise number two, we can choose our beliefs as grown-ups. Premise number three, the more we know about the subconscious beliefs and how they affect us today, so basically how the program is running our lives from being 12, the more we can shift our beliefs today. Okay, so that's a lot of what we do in some of the work that some of you have been involved in when you talk about looking at your limiting beliefs. Well, how do you know they're limiting you? Well, you want freedom and you can't get there. Well, maybe there's a belief that needs to be upgraded because the one that you remember I talked about my scarcity mentality yesterday, and it still comes up sometimes. That was limiting me from having the freedom to work very differently, leave the corporate stability, work very differently, think about money differently, all those types of things. So it's all connected. Now, let me bring in the energy part of it. Okay. So we all have the ability to believe. We got these beliefs. As a grown-up, we can choose different beliefs. We have the freedom to choose different beliefs. Now, where our mind goes, energy flows. Can't say that I was the one that came up with that, but Tesla, who did so much work in the energetic field, and many other scientists. So we know that what we focus on, we bring more energy to it. So let's say we have a business problem that we need to solve. We can dig into and we can spend tons of energy dissecting the issue, dissecting the gap, getting into the bowels of the problem energetically, interrogate the problem. And/or we can say, well, what works today and how do we do more of that? The idea is where you put your energy, it magnifies. So if I really want to be solution focused or solve a problem, I need to put more energy into the solution conversation versus the interrogation of the problem. And my experience in business is we want to spend meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting talking about the problem. Then we run out of time and we have this little bit of time left to talk about the solution. And when we look at energy, the energy would say do the opposite. Yes, understand the problem, but put more time into the solution because that's what you want magnified is what's working, okay? So that is something that in business, in some of the organizations I was a part of, we were trying to shift to say, hey, energy matters. Where we put our mind is where our energy flows. So, but think about this in a personal example. Some of you maybe have kids or remember bringing home a report card. And let's say that you had some good grades on that report card and maybe not the best of grades on that report card. Okay, and you bring it home. Where does our energy tend to focus? Put it in the chat. You and or the adult figure that might be looking at your report card. What are your thoughts? Where does your mind and your energy go almost immediately? What went wrong? Yep, these are not good. What went wrong? These are lower and lower. We might even do some comparison. This is worse than last time. We might even get sophisticated. Like, if we keep going this way, what's going to happen? Oh my gosh. We just took, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a whole dinner conversation and took it down into a negative energetic space. And guess what? We can't change the grades. So why do we do that? Human nature, right? Human nature. So what if we went to same scenario, take 2, from a positive energy standpoint? I see the grades. And what do I look for first? If I want to keep the energy high, what do I look for first? Something good. I passed. Yes. Yes. Everything is passing. I might look for as a parent or at myself. Or maybe I did really pull an F up to a C. That's worth talking about, right? The energy went upward, right? I passed. This is good. I have one twin where it's either an A or an F. Maybe a B or an A or an F, because they don't like to turn things in. They have neurodiversity too. So it's either when they turn it in, good things happen. When they don't turn it in, we get the F. So we see a pattern. And so what we talk about is, hey, look at these subjects where you're getting the A's and the B's. What's working in those subjects? I like the teacher. I find it interesting. I'm not bored. Blah, 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 blah. So we dive into the beliefs around what's working. Okay, what's working? And then say, okay, so what, if anything, could we apply to the lower ones? Maybe some extra help. I don't like the teacher. Well, I can't really change that, right? So there's certain things you can affect and certain things you can't. What would make this situation a little more tolerable for you? Maybe it has to be one of those life lessons of sometimes you don't get a good teacher. Sometimes you don't get a good boss. Sometimes you get the dud on your project team, you know? I mean, sometimes there's just life lessons. You know, I hate to say it, but sometimes, but what can they do? So you get it. You see the difference. So what we mean from a belief perspective, and how this ties into faith, it's coming, the connection is there, is when we believe that something good will come of something, that's faith, in my opinion. Now, can you have faith in bad and gloom and doom? Probably. But my interpretation of faith, so now it's, you know, you're getting my 2 cents on it, is when you believe that if I put something out there, it will grow, or it will have an impact, or it will bring something positive or good. And I believe in that, even though I can't see it. That to me is faith. And then to take it one step further, to me, faith is loyalty to the belief. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So when things get tough, am I still loyal to the belief? Let me give you an example. I talked about yesterday how I couldn't wait to get out of New Jersey. I applied to college, and how I got out of New Jersey was I got into a really nice school. And I was surprised because with my dyslexia or whatever, I thought I would never get into an institution like this. It was a dream come true. And I never thought or believed in the beginning that I could get into college, one. Then through a beautiful, wonderful mentoring, music teacher who had belief in me, said, I think you can do this. So I started to believe that I could. Then I took the steps to do it and believed that if I took the steps, something good would happen. And if it meant that I wasn't meant to go to this place at this time, I had enough now belief that maybe I could go somewhere else. So this process of building belief building belief. Sometimes we need other people to help us because I wasn't seeing it. I was in music and theater. I was just gonna go over the bridge from New Jersey to New York, work in a diner and try to be on Broadway. That was my plan at 16, 17. That was my plan. And it was an okay plan, but it wasn't getting me out of the area. And then someone believed in me. Someone believed in me, a teacher, someone I respected, helped me build belief that, you know what? Why don't you try it? What do you lose? $20 for the application fee? I can't even remember what it was back then. And fill it out and try. And so I did. And through that whole process, and I feel fortunate that I manifested it, meaning I actually got accepted and I got the aid package that would work, which was life-changing. I had a faith that something good would come of it. Now that's different than I will get accepted. I had a faith that something good would come of it. Now, my desire was to get accepted into the university with the aid I needed, et cetera, et cetera. But having faith that something good will come of it. And when I have a setback, like, ooh, I really botched those SATs, fingers crossed, grades and activities will help. If that was, the scenario, I still believe something good would come out of it for the effort. And that's the loyalty piece. So faith is being loyal to the belief of something, again, that I can't see. I'd never been accepted to college, so it wasn't something I could point to and go, I've done it. But I did have other things in my past that I put my mind to and I did it. And so this to me is the connection between belief and faith. And faith is that loyalty to that belief. But I think why people say maybe having faith is tough, or my faith is shaken. We hear these phrases, my faith in whatever, humanity is shaken. We have these kind of power phrases that come out sometimes. And yes, we can, get a little off balance with our loyalty to a certain belief. And maybe that's okay, because maybe our belief needs to get upgraded. And so maybe when our faith gets a little shaken in something, it's an opportunity to go back and check the belief and say, you know what, maybe that belief does need to be tweaked a little bit. Maybe that belief, there's something about that belief that's maybe not quite refined, or I should adjust that belief that I have faith in and see how that plays out for you. So now this sounds all beautiful, right? And positive. And so where can it sometimes be hard, or where can it go awry as I think of it? So I have I don't know if it's an innate knack or whatever, but I just really have a lot of belief in people's potential. Just always have. I've always seen, and maybe that's why I studied teaching and went into education and did development, and now I coach and heal, and I have a lot of faith that people can change and grow and develop. I've always had it. It's come naturally to me. But I've been loyal a little too long with some people, like some leaders that I was coaching in businesses. And I was so loyal, like, oh, I know this is the time when they're not going to yell at their team. Or this is going to be the time when they listen to their employees. And so I have maybe had rose-colored glasses on in my past, where maybe I have been loyal to a belief longer than was maybe warranted, but I'll err on that side. For me personally, I would rather err on the side of believing and having faith that someone can change, that things can shift, we can make a difference, we can make things happen. And I've just always had that. Now, why do I have that? Like I was always trying to, why? Why do I have this belief in people that, people in essence have the ability to change and maybe they don't want to, but I believe they have the ability to. There's a difference. But I do believe that I can't help somebody change who doesn't want to change because we have free will, right? We have our own will, and I can want something for somebody and they don't want it for themselves. Where this links to spirituality for me is believing that there is something bigger in this world than me, that there is universal energy, creator energy, spirit. I grew up believing in God and angels and spiritual beings of love that existed, and I believe, and I still believe in them. But there was a period of time in my rebel phase where I kind of disconnected from that part of me, that spiritual aspect of me. And looking back now, I think it made things harder. When I got into difficulty and when I got into challenges, and I thought it was me, the human, who had to work it all through on my own, life was harder. And I think I turned off that spiritual connection for a good 20 years. And I think I did it because I didn't like church and I didn't like religion. My opinion, this is me. Because for me, and I can only speak for the small town parish in my town in New Jersey, the people leading that organization brought a lot of fear into it. And so I grew up fearing if I did something wrong, or fearing, and actually developed a very fearful view of spirit and God and energy. And that didn't work for me. I didn't want to be afraid. I didn't want to fear this huge force in my life. And I didn't really have much of an alternative to religion and church, other than nature. I always knew when I went to nature, which to me, I really feel God and the universe energy, because it's just so magnificent. It's so awesome. I just think, oh my gosh, who thought to create butterflies, and who had the beautiful idea to create a cherry blossom tree and oceans and dolphins? And, I just could go on and on and on. But I will tell you, when I shut off my faith and my channel to the spiritual, I really went to a dark place. I got very depressed. I've been in and out of depression my whole life. I come by it through heredity. And there were points where I was like, I don't know if I can get out of this darkness, honestly. Because think about it, if all we think is this human thing that we're doing, and there isn't anything more or anything greater or anything bigger, it's kind of a bummer, isn't it? Like, seriously? This is it? This is it. All right. So I'm a grown up now. I'm going to work every day. I'm going to be low energy. So I'm going to eat sugar to rev myself up. And then I'm going to be mad at myself for gaining weight. And maybe I might watch a movie and go to sleep and do it all over again. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. That was some days, months, weeks, months, years of my life. And so when I hit that place that I talked about yesterday, where I'm like, I literally was like, is this as good as it gets? And I'm 49 years, seriously, is this as good as it gets? And I reached back to that belief and that faith and went, I can't believe it. I have to believe there's something more. And it was that reaching back to that belief and faith that pulled me out, because I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe there wasn't more potential here. There wasn't something more. There wasn't something different. There wasn't maybe a way that I was supposed to figure this out. that it wasn't supposed to be 40 more years of bland, black and white version of the movie of my life. And so thankfully, I had been loyal to that belief that this is magnificent. There is this beautiful energy available to us. I don't always know if I'm on the right path. I don't always know what I'm here to do, but I think there's something to it that pulled me out. And so that is why I believe so much in faith. And I feel like I don't think I'm the only one. And I really don't mean any disrespect to any veterans who are on the call here, but I feel like I have post-traumatic stress disorder from religion, from organized religion, from Catholicism that I grew up with. Me personally. And I know people have PTSD for serving overseas and seeing way worse things than I ever saw. But I think I really had an issue when I was surrounded by all that fear at such a young age. And now I'm realizing, okay, move on, Stephanie. Do not let that fear define you anymore. Find a form of faith and spirituality that will work for you. But if you really, really, really want to thrive in this world, if you want the freedom, I have to have faith. I have to have faith that freedom is, I'm able to attain it. I'm able to live that way. It is available to me and to each one of us. And so that's where I'm at now. I'm just like, this faith has to get talked about with all of this. And now I have a faith that not only is this universe magnificent, but the universe has my back. The universe is really actually looking out for me, even though it really doesn't look that way some days. And so that's kind of my whole faith journey now on why I believe it is so important to have a faith that either there's something more, there's something bigger, there's something greater. I'm here for a reason. I'm meant to do something while I'm here. And that positive faith, even if we get confused and don't know what it is and need coaches and mentors and others to help us find it, and there's a lot of people who help me find it. That's what I think is going to elevate all of our vibrations collectively on the planet. And so that's why I wanted to talk about faith today and belief. And so what is something that you have faith in? I think I needed my journey again to develop my own beliefs. And now they're stronger because they're truly mine and not the ones that I was taught to repeat back. Right? They're now truly my beliefs and I own them and I believe in them, which I can't quite say growing up in all those pieces. And so for me, I've actually had to do a lot of healing in regards to my faith, but I will tell you that I really try to live without regrets, and I'm processing. But one of my biggest regrets is turning off my faith in spirituality in my 20s and 30s. I think when I struggled with my own depression, when I struggled trying to conceive a child and was dealing with infertility, when I lost a job, when I had these lost a friend, actually it was a direct report, died of cancer. When these things happened, I think turning my faith off during those times really did make it harder to recover, harder to process, harder to put it into perspective. And so so how I'm making up for that regret is I'm not going to live one more day without it. And maybe I needed to have those 2 decades of learning to realize that I really had made things harder for myself than maybe I needed to, because if I had had a faith with me, that there's just something broader than me, and it's loving. That's the other piece, that it's loving and it's the love vibration that is available to all of us. And the love vibration of unconditional love. And then to circle it all the way back to science and energy, for those that maybe have not tuned into that frequency of unconditional love, it is the megahertz 528. 528. The love frequency on Earth vibrates at a 528 megahertz. So you can experience music, sound healing at that frequency. And how I've done it in the past is I might just go on to a browser. I happen to use Google, and type in 528 hertz music. And a whole bunch of choices will come up. There's artists and engineers and all kinds of really interesting people out there creating music at these vibrations that sometimes I just have them on in the background in my house because I realize I need to feel uplifted. I need to feel that faith and vibration. So thank you for sharing what you have some faith in, and maybe some could relate to how some of the beliefs and experiences we have younger can kind of come with us for a while, but that we all have the power to choose our beliefs, and we also choose how loyal we are to those beliefs. And faith is loyalty to those beliefs. Now, what kind of faith would help you move forward to get that freedom that you desire? So, for example, I'm going to go back to myself. If I have a scarcity mentality around money and I want financial freedom, okay, and I'm going to take some steps, what faith would help me as I step forward? What faith? And so I might need to look at the law of abundance, the law of reciprocity. I might need to build some belief that will build my faith that this truly is an abundant world. Maybe I've only seen the scarcity side of it, but build my beliefs. And I might need some proof points that it's abundant. I might have to go collect some data. I'm not saying you have to do it completely on faith that it's invisible, although often faith is believing in something we cannot see. But I could cite areas of abundance, and I might need to think about how could I build my faith that there is an abundant universe so that I can really diminish this belief around scarcity. So that's the build on, is we're going to build on the freedom you want, actions you take. Now, what faith would help you realize that freedom? And it may be you deserve freedom. You're worthy of freedom. Freedom is available for you to attract. It could be things like that there's some beliefs that need to get updated and faith in those so that you can truly achieve the freedom that you desire. So, faith, belief, positive energy, believing that things are positive, and really looking at even our words. So I'll give you an example. I was talking with somebody to say, I hear from them a lot. I don't have enough time. We talked about this yesterday. I don't have enough time to, ... I don't have enough time to. I don't have lack. That is a lack belief. You do have time. We all have time. But my time right now is going to other things. Very different mindset, very different vibration. I don't have money. I have money. but right now it's directed towards other investments. See the difference? If I'm putting out there, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, guess what you're going to get more of? I don't have time. Because that's where you're putting your energy. But you could say, I have time, not really happy where it's going right now. That's okay. What could I do to shift where my time is going? Because I'd like it to go into different places. So language matters. Our words really matter because it will show the vibration. Admitting you have time is already higher than a lack of time, a scarcity of time. Admitting you have money, all of you have money. You all have money. Right now, it's going to certain priorities. Maybe you want to change that. Maybe you can't change it right now, but you want to change it and you're working through changing it. So think about that. What belief do you have to have? I do have it. I want to change how I'm using it. I want to change the amount, or I want to change the priorities of my time. I want to have more of my time going into this work and less than that's fine. That's fine. That's all a higher vibration. And then having the faith that I can redirect it. I will be able to shift it is that next positive thing.